The church bells were still echoing when my world collapsed for the second time that day. My husband's coffin was still in front of us. Candles flickered, shadows stretched across the floor, and I clung to my black veil like it could somehow shield me from what was about to come. Then, his father's voice broke the silence, cold, sharp, final. The property reverts to blood family now. Those words didn't just pierce the air, they carved themselves into my chest. I froze. My lungs burned, refusing to take in air. People shifted uncomfortably in the pews. Some pretended not to hear. Others glanced at me with pity. But he didn't stop there. He leaned closer, his eyes narrowed, and added, "You have no place here anymore." I felt the room tilt. The very floor beneath my feet seemed to vanish. Was I still the wife? The widow? Or just nothing? Tears blurred my vision, but I refused to let them fall. Not here, not in front of him, not while my husband's body was still lying in that coffin. My fingers dug into the wooden bench until my knuckles turned white. I thought I understood my place in this world. I thought love, marriage, and years of devotion meant something. But apparently, I was wrong. Gasps rippled through the family rows. His cousins whispered, their words slicing through the silence. "She doesn't deserve anything. It all goes back to us. She's just an outsider." The sting of humiliation wrapped around me like barbed wire. I wanted to scream, to fight, to claw back every sacrifice I had made for this family, but the weight of grief crushed my voice. So instead, I sat there, frozen, broken, invisible. And yet, somewhere deep in my chest, beneath the grief, beneath the shame, a spark flickered, a voice that whispered, "Not everything is lost. They don't know the whole truth." Because hidden away, locked in silence, was something they didn't expect. Something that would soon turn their smug laughter into desperate gasps. The funeral wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of the fight for everything my husband left behind. And when the moment came, when the lawyer stood up and revealed the secret they had tried to bury, they would regret ever telling me I had no place in this world. The room was still spinning from his words, but as I sat there in that suffocating silence, one truth became clear. This fight wasn't just about property, it was about erasing me, erasing the life Daniel and I built together. And if I wanted to survive, I needed to go back. Back to the very beginning. Back to the moment I stepped into his world, when love blinded me to the shadows already waiting. Because maybe, just maybe, the answers and the strength to fight back were hidden there. When I first met Daniel, I never imagined how much my life would change. He wasn't the kind of man who turned heads instantly. He wasn't loud, flashy, or arrogant. He was steady, warm, the kind of man whose presence felt like a safe harbor after a storm. We met at a friend's dinner. He noticed I was uncomfortable, squeezed into a corner of the table, ignored by louder voices. While others competed for attention, Daniel leaned in quietly and asked me about my favorite book. That night, I laughed more than I had in years. From that moment, he became my anchor. We built our love carefully, like stacking bricks one by one. No grand gestures, no fairy tale fantasies, just late-night walks, whispered promises, and the steady rhythm of two hearts that finally found home in each other. When we married, I thought it would be the beginning of a life where love conquered everything. And for a while it was. But Daniel's family, they never truly welcomed me. At first it was subtle. His father's cold glances across the dinner table. His cousin's fake smiles, too polished to be sincere. His aunt's comments that always sounded like compliments until you listened closely. "You're sweet, dear, but Daniel could have married someone more fitting. Our family has standards. You'll understand in time." I smiled through it all, convincing myself they just needed time to know me. After all, I worked hard. I supported Daniel when he lost his job, covering bills with long hours at work. When his mother's health failed, I spent nights at her side, feeding her soup, brushing her hair, making her comfortable while the others sent occasional texts or flowers. I thought my dedication would prove my worth. But Daniel's father never softened. His words were daggers hidden in velvet. "A wife should bring something substantial to the table. Love is nice, but legacy is what matters." Daniel always defended me. His hand would grip mine tightly under the table, his eyes fierce as he whispered, "Ignore him. "You're my family now." And I believed him, because Daniel's love was enough. His smile after a long day, his arms wrapping around me as if I was his entire world. Those were the moments that made every sacrifice worth it. Still, shadows lingered. At family gatherings, I noticed the way conversations would hush when I entered the room, how decisions were made without me, even when they affected both of us, how his father introduced me to friends not as his daughter-in-law, but simply Daniel's wife. It was a subtle erasure, inch by inch, and though I told myself not to care, each cut left a scar. One night, after yet another family dinner where his father found new ways to remind me I wasn't enough, I broke down in tears. Daniel pulled me into his arms, wiped my cheeks, and said, "Listen to me. You are my wife, my partner, the only person I will ever build a life with." Nothing he says changes that. I clung to his words like a lifeline, because deep down, I knew the truth. Daniel's love was the only thing standing between me and a family that had already decided I didn't belong. And as long as he was with me, I thought I could survive their disdain. I didn't realize then how fragile that shield was, or how quickly the day would come when I would have to face them without him. It started so small, a cough, nothing more than a tickle in Daniel's throat. At first, we laughed about it. "You're getting old," I teased. He rolled his eyes, pulled me close, and promised he was fine. But the cough didn't go away. It deepened, hollow and sharp. Then came the sleepless nights, the weight loss, the fatigue he couldn't shake. I begged him to see a doctor. He resisted, saying he was too busy, too tired, until one night when he collapsed in the kitchen, pale and gasping for air. The hospital walls were cold, sterile, merciless. The doctor's face was grave when he entered the room. Words like biopsy, metastasis, stage 4 hung in the air, choking me before I could even understand them. Cancer terminal, no cure. My world tilted. Daniel's hand gripped mine as if to anchor me, but it was my tears that fell onto his skin. From that day forward, our lives became a blur of IV bags, hospital beds, and quiet prayers whispered in sterile hallways. I became his shadow, feeding him when he couldn't lift a spoon, brushing his hair back when sweat drenched his forehead, whispering stories from our happier days just to keep his spirit alive. His family. They visited when it was convenient. Quick appearances, false smiles, empty reassurances. His father stayed distant, as though Daniel's illness was an inconvenience tarnishing the family's perfect image. I carried it all. The weight of his illness, the weight of their absence, the weight of knowing time was slipping away. One night, Daniel's voice trembled as he whispered, "If anything happens to me, there's something hidden, something only you know about. Keep it safe. One day it will protect you." I stared at him, confused, but he just squeezed my hand. His eyes held secrets I didn't yet understand. And then, the day came. His breaths grew shallow, uneven. His fingers, once strong and steady, trembled in mine. I pressed my forehead against his and whispered through my tears, "I'll be strong. I'll protect what we built. I promise." When his chest rose for the last time and fell into stillness, a silence louder than thunder filled the room. I screamed, but no sound escaped. My world shattered. The days that followed blurred together, condolences, flowers, people whispering my name like I was already fading from memory. At the funeral, I stood by his coffin, numb. Candles flickered, shadows stretched long against the church walls. I thought grief was the heaviest weight a heart could carry. But then his father's voice cut through the silence like a knife. "The property reverts to blood family now." The words didn't just pierce me, they gutted me. Before I could even process my loss, before the ground beneath me stopped spinning, they were already circling, plotting, claiming, erasing. His father leaned closer, eyes sharp with calculation, and hissed, "You have no place here anymore." The humiliation burned hotter than my grief. My knees nearly buckled, but I forced myself to stand tall. In that moment, I understood. This wasn't about mourning, this was about possession. And they were ready to strip me of everything, my home, my memories, even the dignity of being Daniel's wife. But what they didn't know was that Daniel had left me more than memories. He had left me a shield, a secret. And soon, it would be the very weapon I needed to survive. The morning after the funeral, I woke up to silence. The kind of silence that presses against your chest, heavy and suffocating. Daniel's side of the bed was cold, untouched. His scent still lingered on the pillow, and for a brief moment I closed my eyes and pretended he was still there. But reality came crashing in with the sound of voices outside. Low at first, then sharper, louder. When I opened the door, I saw them. His father, 2 uncles, and a cousin, standing in the driveway, boxes in their hands. My heart stuttered. What are you doing?" His father didn't even flinch. "Collecting what belongs to the family." He stepped forward, his eyes as cold as marble. "You've had your time here, but now that Daniel is gone, this house reverts to us. It was built with our bloodline's legacy, not yours. You can pack your things or we'll do it for you." The words slammed into me like a physical blow. This was my home. The walls that had heard our laughter, our whispered dreams, our arguments and reconciliations. Every corner carried a memory, and they wanted to strip it away like I was a guest who overstayed her welcome. I felt the sting of tears, but I swallowed them down. Daniel wanted me here. This is my home too. His uncle snorted loud and mocking. "Without him, you're nothing. Just a tenant who's run out of time." His cousin smirked, holding up an empty box. "Where should we start? Bedroom, closet, kitchen?" Laughter rippled through them, casual and cruel. They weren't grieving. They were celebrating. I stood frozen, clutching the doorframe for balance. My body trembled, but inside something else stirred. Anger, sharp and unyielding. I wanted to scream that I had held Daniel's hand while they ignored him, that I had fed their sick mother when they were too busy to visit, that I had sacrificed years of my life to keep this family together. But the words tangled in my throat, and then, his father delivered the final blow. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be. You were never really one of us. Blood decides everything." Those words shattered something inside me. I slammed the door shut before they could step inside. My heart pounded, my hands shook, but my mind was already racing. They thought they could erase me. They thought I was powerless. But Daniel had trusted me with something. Late one night, only weeks before the cancer took him, he had whispered, "If anything happens to me, there's something hidden, something only you know about. Keep it safe. One day, it will protect you." At the time, I didn't understand. I thought it was just a fragment of fear from a dying man. But now I realized what he meant. Because somewhere in this house, the same house they were trying to steal from me, Daniel had left behind a secret. And it was my only weapon against the family that wanted me destroyed. I waited until the house was empty, the echoes of their cruel laughter fading down the driveway. My hands trembled as I locked the door, but inside me a spark of defiance burned brighter. Daniel had trusted me. If he said there was something hidden, I would find it. I started in the study, every drawer, every shelf, every book. Hours slipped by as I searched, desperation mounting with every false lead. Nothing. Then I remembered Daniel's favorite place, the one corner of the house he called his sanctuary, the attic. Dusty, cluttered, ignored by everyone else. But Daniel always said it was where he kept the things that mattered. I climbed the creaking stairs, my heart pounding in my ears. Cobwebs brushed against my hair, and the air was thick with dust. But something about the silence felt sacred. I scanned the room. Old boxes, photo albums, stacks of papers. My hands shook as I moved them aside until, there, a wooden chest. Small, unassuming, tucked beneath a pile of blankets. My breath caught. With trembling fingers, I lifted the lid. Inside, wrapped in a faded cloth, was an envelope. Thick, sealed, heavy with the weight of secrets. My name was written across the front. Tears blurred my vision as I clutched it to my chest. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Daniel's handwriting. Even in death, he was reaching out to me. I tore the seal. Inside was a letter and a stack of documents. The letter was short, but each word carved into me with fire. "If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. I know my father. I know what he'll try to do. But you must stand firm. This house, this property, these accounts, they're yours. I've signed everything with the lawyer. Don't let them take what belongs to you." My knees buckled. Relief and grief crashed over me in waves. He knew. He had seen it coming, and he had protected me even from beyond the grave. But it wasn't just a letter. The documents attached were legal, stamped, signed, proof of ownership transferred to me. A will, a contract, ironclad. The secret weapon Daniel had left me. Suddenly, their smug words echoed differently in my head. Blood decides everything. No, the law decided everything, and the law was on my side. I pressed the letter to my heart and whispered through my tears, "Thank you, Daniel. You didn't just leave me memories. You left me a shield." But I knew this wasn't the end. Because the moment they discovered what I held in my hands, they would stop at nothing to destroy me. And that meant the real battle. The courtroom, the judge, the exposure of their cruelty was about to begin. The day of the hearing arrived. I walked into the courtroom clutching Daniel's letter like it was both a sword and a shield. My hands were trembling, but my resolve was solid. His father and uncles sat across the room, smug, confident, whispering to each other as if victory was already theirs. Their lawyer straightened his tie, glancing at me with the faintest smirk. To them, I was the grieving widow, powerless, about to be crushed. The judge entered, the gavel echoed, and the room fell silent. Their lawyer stood first. His voice was smooth, rehearsed. "Your Honor, the property in question belongs exclusively to the bloodline. My client's late son had no legal arrangement securing it to his wife. We request immediate transfer back to the family." My chest tightened. For a moment, their confidence threatened to smother me. Then my lawyer stood, calm, steady. He placed a thick envelope on the judge's desk. "Your Honor, before any transfer is considered, I'd like the court to review these documents, signed and notarized by Daniel himself weeks before his passing." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. His father stiffened, his smug smile fading. The judge adjusted his glasses, flipping through the pages. Silence stretched, each second heavier than the last. Finally, he read aloud. "I, Daniel Carter, hereby declare that my property, assets, and accounts are to be inherited solely by my wife." My name echoed in the chamber. For the first time in weeks, my heart soared. His father shot to his feet. "This is outrageous. She manipulated him. He wasn't in his right mind." The judge slammed the gavel. "Sit down, Mr. Carter. These documents are clear and legally binding." Their faces twisted, rage and disbelief colliding. The same people who mocked me, who tried to erase me, now sat powerless as the truth they never saw coming unraveled in front of them. I held Daniel's letter tighter, tears streaming down my face. Justice. Finally. When the gavel struck for the last time, it wasn't just the sound of a verdict. It was the sound of freedom. The sound of Daniel's voice reaching me through the veil of death, reminding me that love leaves a mark deeper than bloodlines or cruelty. I walked out of that courtroom not just with papers proving my rights, but with something far greater. Dignity restored. His father glared at me from across the hall, eyes full of venom. But for the first time, I didn't look away. I wasn't afraid, because I carried Daniel with me in every word he left behind, in every promise he had kept even after his final breath. The family who tried to strip me of everything walked away empty-handed. And I walked away with my home, my memories, and the knowledge that sometimes justice does prevail. But let me tell you this, the scars remain. Being told you are nothing, being erased in front of the world, it carves wounds that don't heal overnight. Still, I refuse to let their cruelty define me. I will rebuild. I will honor Daniel's love by living, by laughing again, by breathing freely in the home we built together. And when I pass that home one day to someone else, it won't be because blood demanded it. It will be because love chose it. So to anyone who has ever been silenced, dismissed, told you don't belong, remember this. Sometimes the truth hides in places others never think to look. And when it comes to light, it has the power to shatter every lie. They said I had no place in this family. But in the end, I claimed the place Daniel had carved for me with his love and his final words.